my friends are some of the most amazing people. And
one of your best mates, Michael Brake, he's a gold medalist as part of that rowing 8, which you just missed out on. How's watching those Olympics?
Oh, fuck, it was crazy, man. Watching them do that was like, that's my dream. There was this jealousy, there was this envy, but then almost this, like, a huge amount of pride because I'd gone there with those guys. I just couldn't figure it out. And I think that's just accepting that it's all good because there was a sport right around the corner.
You've chosen an even more brutal path. You're a role in Team New Zealand, you're a cycler.
Holding that big mullet, like a Magnum with the America's Cup insignia on it and with my mate, and I was just like chuffed as, took a knee and had a big swig. Like it was a real special moment. We had a team sort of debrief and I essentially just said to them, I was like, hey look, like I know I'm a lot. I know I'm this personality that's overbearing at times or whatever, but as soon as I turned up, they not only accepted me but celebrated me as a person, and it fixed me. Yeah.
Cam Webster, welcome to my podcast.
G'day, good to be here, man.
How are you? You nervous? Are you relaxed?
I'm definitely nervous. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like you look forward to it, and then all of a sudden you're in here, and it's I don't know. Like definitely nervous, but good. Really excited though.
And first podcast experience?
Yeah. I mean, I'm an avid listener of like heaps of podcasts, but first time actually going on one. So yeah, pretty excited.
Well, it's great. This is going to be a lot of fun. There wasn't a huge amount of information about you online, but I managed to crowdsource.
Extract a bit out from my mates.
Yeah. And your friends were really good. Michael Brake in particular, rowing gold medalist. Dougal Allen, your Team New Zealand teammate, as well as Coast to Coast legend. And Blair Chuk. Is he like one of your bosses at Team NZ?
I guess you could call him that. He was sort of in charge of our cycle group sailing team. He's sort of one of the managers. Taking care of that. So yeah, I guess so, yeah. One of the boys though, really. Yeah.
So quick backstory. A rower for 14 years, 10 of those representing New Zealand. You started at Westlake Boys High School, and during your school years you won 3 golds, 5 silvers and 3 bronze medals at North Island Secondary School Regattas. Junior World Rowing Champion, Under 23 World Rowing Champion, and trialist for the Rio and Tokyo Olympics.
Yes, that's the one.
And then retired in June 2022.
Yeah.
And trialled for Team New Zealand in December of that year.
Yes, that's pretty much the cliff notes of it, yeah.
And now, it sounds exhausting when you read it out like that, right?
Yeah, long
Impressive.
time. Yeah, long time. It was, I don't know, one of the most rewarding journeys I can't really compare it to anything else, but I loved it. Like, hard times all through it, but yeah, it was incredible, really.
But yet so much adversity in there as well. Like I suppose the key line in that and those footnotes were Rio and Tokyo Olympic trialist. So you never made it to the Olympic Games.
No, that was always the dream. It wasn't always the dream since I was a kid, but it was definitely a dream that I had once I was capable enough for it to be realistic. So when I made the sort of the under 23 team and 2015, I was like, I could probably get close to being a part of this Rio team here. But yeah, it just eluded me both times, and I guess that's sort of the failures in that was what really I don't know, it showed in what I was able to do later on, and it really built a lot of character for me because I didn't get what I wanted, if you know what I mean. Like I think a lot of athletes, when they go out there and they work hard, some of them they achieve their goals and some of them don't, most of them don't. And I think it's the lessons that you learn out of that stuff that I really, really loved. Yeah. In hindsight, during it was pretty shit.
There's so much to unpack with that. So much adversity that you've been through. Yeah. And that's why when Bella, an old school friend of yours, pitched you as a guest, I thought, it's perfect. Yeah. Because because life's a rocky road.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And now you've chosen an even more brutal path. You're a role in Team New Zealand. You're a cycler. Yeah. Now I read a quote about this online. Being a cycler is outrageously physically demanding. The role of cycler is one of the hardest positions in any sport. Only the fittest athletes on the planet need apply.
Yeah, that's quite a nice way to put it. It is fucking hard. Like it's one of those sports that it's hard to really prep or train well for because the role on the boat is such a secondary role. Like, obviously you got Pete, Nate, Blair and Andy who are really taking control of the boat, and they just decide all the decisions. They are really on top of everything, and we just sort of have to manage the demands that they put on the boat. And so, warm up is minimal, predictability in every race is minimal, so you kind of just have to prepare for this huge big range of outcomes. Some races you might go out there and be prepared to go completely maximal when it's like a 50% effort or 60% effort, but other days you'll go out there and you'll have no warm up and you'll just be straight into 100% like full FTP, like max for 25-30 minutes. And you have to sort of learn as an athlete how to prepare for that. And I think that's why a lot of athletes from they went into Team New Zealand are sort of more accomplished and older athletes who've already done their sport, because they need people who are like who've been through a bit of shit and are able to take a bit of a hit and are resilient enough to handle it. The younger athletes sometimes don't have the same level of grit that the older ones do. I mean, so that's sort of my perception of it anyway.
Dougal Allen, who's well used to being in pain and agony, like he's a coast-to-coast legend. He uses the word suffering a lot. Yeah, he does. Yeah. Shout out Dougal, my boy. He knows how to suffer. And that guy is probably he's incredible on that boat. He's got such a good combination of, he's an incredible long distance athlete and a sort of 20-minute, 30-minute FTP athlete. And he's incredible at those repeatable 1,000-watt sprints. He hasn't quite got the maximal stuff that sort of like some of the other big guys like me and Marius or Louis Crosby could do, but he could repeat some incredibly hard efforts, and he was one of the best on the boat. So and it is an awesome guy. Like, that's just the other thing. Well, it's mutual, that is. So he sent me a 3-minute voice note all about you. I should actually share it. I don't know if it's private or not, but
I don't care, wonderful. Bro. Chuck it out there, folks.
He said a couple of really nice things about you. One quote was that you're the most loyal, thoughtful friend I've ever had. His words.
It's nice.
And he said during the America's Cup campaign, he was dealing with some personal stuff that I won't get into, but he said he sort of was keeping his private stuff private and just focusing on the job, and you were the one that picked up on it. That something wasn't 100%.
Yeah, there was one day in the gym where we were on the watt bikes, and it was just an afternoon session, hour spin, something, just chill, like sort of zone 2 stuff in the afternoon, and I saw he doesn't usually get flustered and like frazzled, and he's really quite composed guy, but I saw, and he got off the bike and I was like, fuck, what are you doing getting off the bike? He doesn't usually do that. Like, he's like I'll finish my session, I'll die before I finish my session, and he was out there in the forecourt, and he was just like pacing and frustrated on the phone, and I was like, fuck, there's something up here. And I just sort of just had a yarn to him, and I don't know, it's just being there for your mates, I guess. I guess I'm perceptive and I could pick up on it, but I mean, what else was I going to do? Not say anything, I just had to be there for him. There's no other option.
Well, good on you. Well, it meant a lot to him. He really appreciated it.
Well, I appreciate his friendship. Like, shit, especially I'd say that's universal for all the guys in the team. Like, just the group that I managed to be a part of was incredible. Like, every single person had such an interesting personality and skill set and approach to training and life, and we all came from such different angles of life, and it was just, and not even just athletes, everyone else in the team. I loved I'd say that the outcome of the race, the last race, like in rowing, the outcome of the last race is generally the most exciting part, because you have all this hard training and you're really in the dumps and you're really working hard, you're tired. It was the same with Team New Zealand, but the enjoyment of the final outcome was spread over the 2 years I was in the team. Like, since the day I turned up, I was like, I'm fucking all in here. And I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Your friend Michael Brake, who's a rowing gold medalist, he said you loved being in the environment as soon as you're in there, not just the training, but even doing bitch jobs. He described it. Like when you were just like driving around picking up bits of sailing equipment or whatever. You were just like fizzing about being in that environment. So it was like, our job as a cyclist was obviously to do our training and get on the bike and perform, but we had the 2 years of the whole campaign. So
we had to also contribute in other ways. And the way that we did that was becoming essentially like apprentices in the shed. So like just sweeping floors, vacuuming, cleaning up after people, tidying area. We had our shore manager, Sean Regan, who's like one of the coolest men I've ever met. And he was sort of our go-to guy, boss on the floor. And I was probably in Auckland and didn't, me and Louis Crosby were probably the most in Auckland, and I sort of decided that I knew the roads quite well because I grew up here. So I was the guy that was in the utes doing the courier jobs every day. So I'd get out and do a run over to the North Shore before lunch and then run south before after lunch, and that was picking up all the custom equipment that we needed for the boat to obviously get it working, because you couldn't trust the courier services because it first took too long and they might lose it. So, and all these parts are so incredibly intricate and special that they need to be delivered with certainty. So I was the guy that would just go pick it all up and deliver it. Yeah, lots of fun and cool to see like the suppliers and all the different intricacies of the supply chain operation as well. Yeah, it was cool to sort of see that side of the team. But
from what I can gather, this is just your personality type. You're just relentlessly positive and able to find the silver lining.
I think I learned that honestly as a kid. I wasn't particularly like that. I might have been. I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, what else have we got? We've got some low-hanging fruit before we drill down into the rowing stuff. So Dougal Allen said you're the king of impersonations. He said you ask him to do someone, he can do it. And he gave me a few names. President Trump.
Donald Trump. We freaking love that guy, Donald Trump. I don't know, man. It's hard to get on a roll, especially in front of cameras. But yeah, it's one of those things I just sort of bring out in the group. It just sort of, I think it's a morale thing. I enjoy doing it. When I was young, I sort of started doing impersonations to sort of make the family happy. Like there's a bit of there's a bit of stress and a bit of, anxiety in families always as you're growing up. And I was sort of the court jester, the youngest of 4 kids. And I just sort of ran along the back making jokes and being silly. And that was my sort of outlet to feel validated and feel loved, I guess. When I made a joke and everyone laughed, I felt good about myself. So I just kept doing that as I got older and older. And I've just loved doing impressions and taking the piss. So that's kind of where it came from.
Okay, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey, like doing that one? Yeah. Oh, man, I haven't, you caught me off guard there.
Dougal even said this. He said you might throw him a name and he might have to go to the bathroom for 5 minutes to practice it.
Because I usually have to think about it before I'm getting into it.
Okay, what about Peter Burling?
Oh, Pete. Yeah, good day, Pete. Yeah. Good day, guys. Yeah. Copy. Yeah. Because we were out for dinner one evening, just casually in Barcelona, and we were having a conversation. And Pete was just like, oh, yeah, copy, yeah, like out of the boat. And as a new athlete into a sailing sort of team, I was like, why would you say copy that is such a crazy thing to say in like in a colloquial, chill, social setting, and it's just become a part of my whole vernacular now. So when we were on the boat, actually, we had our comms was only linked up between the cyclors, and the sailors couldn't actually hear us. That was only towards the very end of the campaign, and we were just when there was a more relaxed time, we were just sort of chilled sailing around or sitting on the water. The boys would talk and we'd just kind of low-key just sort of like take the piss in the background just to keep the morale high in the cycles. Like me and Simon van Veldhoven especially. Yeah.
It's a star-studded lot, hey, the cyclists. So there's Simon, who's like an Olympic track cyclist.
Yeah.
There's yourself with your rowing pedigree, Hamish Bond.
Yeah, Bondy.
Who's the SAS guy? There's another former...
Marius van der Poel, one of the most impressive dudes you've ever seen. He's like built like a brick shit house. Like he's just like shoulders out here and one of the nicest guys ever. And yeah, you'll never see him sitting down, but he'll always be kneeling. If we ever need to do anything, he's kneeling, he's ready, he's poised and he's off, he's ready to go.
Why?
I think it's an army thing, but because he was in the SAS, I don't know what it is, but he's always, whenever we're having a team chat or sitting, he's just like kneeling, he's just like ready.
Right, like Goggins. Sitting is too comfortable.
I mean, it's not too far from it really. Like, because of this SAS stuff, they talk about their packs that they'd have and the sort of training they'd do and that selection week. So it sounds grueling, man. I've talked to Marius a bit about it, and it's crazy the shit they do. Yeah, it's like almost like tempting for somebody like an athlete to want to try and do to see if they're capable, but also like the most terrifying thing ever. So I don't know. Yeah.
I suppose it goes back to that suffering word as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What else have we got? While working for Team New Zealand, so you started doing med school, but you dropped out and switched to law.
No. So I wanted to do med since I was a young kid. I actually had an elbow reconstruction when I was 5 years old.
Right.
So I had I've got a big scar on here, and I went into surgery. And it came out, and my elbow was at like a completely wrong angle, so they had to re-break my arm like over 6 months. So this is my dominant arm in rowing too, which is quite funny. It still works pretty good. So I wanted to be a surgeon ever since I was young. And then when I got to high school, I was like, fuck, that's way too hard. So especially with sport, I was like, bugger that. And sport was going well. So my old man's a lawyer, and I was like, I quite like English and chatting, and I understand people relatively well. So I started law at uni in 2014. Yeah, finished it. Yeah.
You finished it while working for Team New Zealand, getting ready for the America's Cup.
Yeah. So my first 6 months with the team, I sort of negotiated with the boss, Shub, to take the first semester. I had 3 days a week at work and 2 days a week at uni, and I'd still train full time, but I wouldn't be in the shed for those 2 days a week. So I'd sort of train in the morning and then head up to AUT to do my last 4 papers, and then got that finished just before we went to Barcelona the first year, 2023.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you never really had a chance to do anything other than law, right? So you're a fourth generation.
Yeah, fourth generational. Simon will love that. Yeah, fourth generational lawyer. Yeah, so my dad,
granddad and great granddad.
Yeah. I didn't really know that until I don't know, like a couple of years ago. And Dad was like, "No, there's 4 generations of that now. There's a firm in town called Webster Malcolm Kilpatrick, and that was my grandfather's firm, and my dad wasn't even allowed to work there." Yeah.
So are you going to use the law degree? What happens now? Blair Chuk, I suppose he's in LA for the SailGP at the moment. And he gave me a call last night, and we were talking about you. He was explaining how it works, and he said it's tough for the cyclists because it's almost like you're contract employees.
Yeah.
So America's Cup was last year, and then you're not needed for another couple of years. So you've got 2 years.
Well, it's so uncertain, because they don't know what the class rules are going to be. They don't know what the boat's going to be, and therefore they don't know what the requirements on the team's going to be and what personnel they'll need. So essentially my job is non-existent until they decide so many more decisions further up the line. And I'm totally understood that from day one.
So what do? You have to put your life on limbo for a...
Well, I mean, some people can see it like that, but I sort of see it like I've got an opportunity now to sort of get my career and my long-term plans going. Like I finished my law degree in 2023 and I graduated then. I was like, cool, relaxed with the team, enjoyed myself. And starting this year, after the team finished up last year, I started my professional legal studies at the start of this year. So it's an 18-week course to get admitted to the bar. So I'm going to go to the High Court, put the wig on, put the cape on with my old man, and go practice law before I. And also the thing is, there's no guarantees on the team again. It's also up in the air. So you just sort of continue your life and go hard and keep training and try to keep fit and do the best you can, and then make sure you're in a good position when the opportunity comes around again, if it does. Yeah.
Again, it's the glass half full thing. It's such a good way of looking at it, but it's like the uncertainty would drive most people fucking crazy. The fact that you can't, it seems like you're an all gas, no brekes kind of guy, but you can't. Yeah. You got one foot in this, office career, and another foot still in the water. Yeah,
definitely. It's I just see it as like, if you prepare yourself well enough as a young person, then, and I don't really have anyone other than my family to sort of help me for this, because I sort of found myself in my late 20s going, oh fuck, I've done that. I'm doing my law degree and I'm really nearly finished it. I may as well keep doing it. And then I've got this potential of like, do I want to go be a lawyer? Do I want to do business? Do I want to be an athlete, work with Team New Zealand? I'm just like, fuck, there's so many choices. And I think if you work really hard when you're young, even if you can't really see the outcome of it, or the potential outcomes, if it feels like kind of the right thing to do and it doesn't feel like contrary to your conscience or whatever, then it's just, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's working.
It seems like it.
You've crammed a lot in. How old are you?
20. I'm 30 now. Fuck. At the 30,
Calm down, granddad.
Start of the year, yeah. Some grays coming in, like a bit of the beard,
Yeah, couple more bits of low-hanging fruit.
Go for it.
So you're a collector of cars. You've got a yellow Lamborghini?
Oh, shit, there it is. I've tried to keep that one on. Yeah.
What are you doing with a yellow Lamborghini?
I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds bad, but okay, we're going to go for it. So I found myself in a position where I could invest in something, and I didn't want to overcapitalize and buy another house. I have already owned a house, which is incredibly lucky. Grew up very it's a lovely thing to have as a young person, and I know it's not easy for everyone to do. And I found myself in a very fortuitous position, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna see if I can capitalize on this and build a bit more wealth." And I've grown up with cars. Like the cars has been like probably the one main pillar in my family. Like my old man's a collector. He did race. He's a race car driver. He did rally driving. He did the Targa rallies. Done track driving. He's had epic cars around the house since I was a young boy. So I know that, and I've got a lot of good friends that are the same. One particular good friend, James, who lives down in Pachitonga, so just down in he owns a macadamia orchard, which is one of the coolest things ever. And we sort of yarned about it and thought, let's try and see if we can build a bit of, build a bit of wealth, if that's what you're going to call it, and invest in something really cool that I can actually look at in the garage and like go for drives in and be proud of and learn about bits of myself that I probably wasn't that comfortable with. Like owning a car like that is it's intense, man.
What do you mean learning bits about yourself?
Oh, like you drive down the road in that car and people assume you're a fuckwit because it's a yellow Lamborghini and it makes a shitload of noise. Like, and if you drive it anything other than like a Nana, it's just popping and banging and rah rah. Like, so you have to be okay with who you are as a person, and also just like know that what I did to get there and own that thing was done on my back and from a lot of people helping me, and I will never take that for granted. And it's something that I'm incredibly grateful for. If I wanted to buy a car that was purely for my own interest, it wouldn't have been a yellow Lambo, trust me. But owning one's pretty sick. And like you're trying that shoe on for a little bit, it's kind of fun, especially at my age. Yeah.
But you were such a big guy, and you love big dogs as well. You love Leon Burgers, which is one of the biggest dog breeds in the world.
Yeah.
I'm just without seeing it, I'm just imagining you like a 2 meter tall dude and a gigantic dog in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
It's a crazy image.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy image. It's I tend to I ask my friends, I don't tend to do things by halves. If I'm gonna do it, let's fucking do it,
And yeah, from what I know from being mates with Blair Tuke for a while, it's like Team New Zealand's like it's a very low key sort of team. Like they're really big on like the staying grounded and sort of like a no dickhead policy sort of thing. So you're not pulling up to the base in the yellow Lambo?
Okay, I did do that once or twice, and I learnt my lesson very quickly. I did it once, but I I didn't bring it into work the first day. I took it and parked it in a parking building, and I told some of the boys about it, and they said, "I'll bring it in and let us see it." And I brought it in, and that was fine. And then maybe a week later, I brought it in, and I parked it outside the front of the gym. And fuck, I got accosted in the group chat, in the team chat. I just got laid into it, and fair enough, man. Like I totally understand the team culture, and I never want to be contrary to that. Like the way the team operates and the values that they have, I think are incredibly special. And for some dickhead young guy to come in and think he could do it, starts earning a bit of money and thinks he can just bring his dumb car into work, like that's I completely understand that, and I just reined it in so quick, and I'm like, nah, not happening again. But it was kind of funny in hindsight.
And also, like what you were saying before, like you see the car and you immediately can picture the person that's in it, or
it's a
create an image. Yeah, which is not necessarily true.
No, I mean there are people who own. There's every kind of person owns every kind of car. And cars have this really pigeonholed idea, and I get it. Like that's common. You go down Ponsonby Road, you see some green Lambo hooning around, and you think, oh, he's a fuckwit. But it's I think that's also just our own stereotypes that we get caught up in. And like I like to prove everyone wrong, one person at a time. Pull over at a gas station, fill up the car, have a really nice conversation with someone who's interested in it, or just taking my friends for like a lot of my good friends have driven it, and I've really tried to share it around, and I've driven it heaps, and I don't know, it's just taught me a lot about myself. And people will probably think, oh, you're bullshit, whatever. But like, you can think what you like. I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned a shitload about my own personality and my own like insecurities from even having it. Yeah.
What are your insecurities?
Oh, far out. What's the list? Man, like I was a huge people pleaser for the longest time. I had so much of my own self-worth but caught up in what other people thought of me. And that really worked in a team environment because I really loved committing all myself to the team. But sometimes I would sort of empty my own tank before I was actually capable of performing. So it was kind of unhelpful. Body image stuff, huge. I was a massive kid growing up. I was like probably a head and a half taller than every kid and twice the weight of every kid growing up, especially up until like high school. So exclusion, bullying, like I got like heaps of stories of when I was young, just like completely being excluded from every single friend group and just being incredibly upset the whole of primary school because of it. And I had some really, really, really great teachers. One teacher in particular in year 3, I was just beating kids up left, front, and centre. Like they would have a go at me or they'd exclude me and I'd just run at them because I was like, as like an 8-year-old, I was probably like 70 kilos or something. Like I was massive and quite chubby and a funny looking dude. And I'd just run at them. And if I could catch them, I'd just grab them and throw them. And it was like completely unhelpful, like especially for trying to teach me some good social skills. And there was this teacher, Mrs. Lowe, who she essentially pulled me aside and taught me at an incredibly early age that's not how we do things, and we need to control that emotion or that frustration, that anger, and not do it. So I'd essentially have this book, and it was like a Duracell book, and I'd get gold stars every time I wouldn't beat a kid up for the week. It sounds ridiculous, but I was such an upset kid, man. I'd always get in huge amounts of trouble with all the staff at the school because these kids would just run to the teachers and say, "Oh, Cam hit me," and it was just like, "Well, of course I did," and I hit them pretty hard. And
what, were you a bully, or was it like a self-defense?
No, it was. I just felt. No, it was. I was trying to include myself in the group and trying to join the games on the playground. Like I remember going up to a playground at one point and going, and one of the kids saying, "Oh, anyone whose name starts with the letter C can't play with us." And I know I'm bringing up shit from my childhood, but this is stuff I've had to figure out. You know,
well, that stuff scars. It sticks with you.
And unless you go back and figure it out, it just keeps fucking with you until you get older, and it comes out in weird ways. So like, I was the only kid who had the letter name starting with C, and I was like, it was a pointed thing at me, so you're not included. And I've always like that exclusion that I felt as a kid was so like, it sort of haunted me, and it sort of made me. That's why I love being a part of teams, because the teams means inclusion, and inclusion means I feel safe and good about myself. So. Yeah, that was and it was the I guess the violence or the physical nature of what I was like as a kid was always as a result of just me just getting to the end of my tether. Like people just poke, and then I just blow up, you know. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
I mean, you've definitely done a lot of work, actually.
Yeah.
Dougal. He said there's 150 people in Team New Zealand, and you had to say that across the board you'd probably be widely regarded as the most popular.
Shit. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice thing for him to say.
I asked Blair. Blair said you'd be number 2 behind him.
Behind him. Yeah.
No, it's a huge thing to say, though, eh?
Oh, I mean, I just love the people. That's the thing. I love every single every interaction I have. Like going into the shed in the morning after training and having breakfast was like a highlight. I'd just go around the different trades. We had the rig bay taking care of all the mast and the rig, and then we had the boat builders, then we had the composites guys, and then the engineers, and I just really thrived off that amount of energy because there's so many people, and if you have good interactions like at the very start of your day, then far out, like it starts off so well, and it just boosts your whole day.
Let's go back and talk about some of the rowing stuff. So at the front of the podcast, I mentioned some of the achievements at a young age. So you were sort of naturally good?
Yeah, I was quite a big guy as a start of third form or year 9. I was like 96 kilos and like 6'1", 6'2", and
massive.
I wasn't much smaller than this, to be honest. And my brother, he's a rower at Westlake as well, and he was Māori Cup participant. He raced in the Māori Cup, and I sort of always saw that as like quite an awesome thing. And ever since I was young, he was always like, "Cam, you're big, you should row, or you're going to row." I didn't have a choice. I was just doing what I was told, really. And a lot of my family friends, you know, my brother and one of his good friends, Chris Cole, he was a rower at the same time at Westlake, and that whole family, the Cole family and my family were, you know, quite good family friends. And it was just like it was a train that I was just on, you know, I didn't choose it. It was just something that was happening. And yeah, I ended up actually being quite good at it. It wasn't a natural thing. There was a shitload of things I had to like confront before I actually got quite good. I was naturally a pretty lazy kid, just, you know, big, strong, never had to try that hard at anything, like, and physically, because it just came to me naturally, in terms of the strength and effort side. But then when work ethic came into it, I was just horrendous. Like, I was like, I don't want to try hard. I'm a big pussy, you know? So I just, it was literally like chipping away. Like, I sort of carved the work ethic out of stone. You know, it was like from my first year, it was like extra sessions, like on the erg a lot, to try and sort of get used to what it felt like working hard, and then also starting to enjoy that feeling and then get comfortable in that feeling. I mean, you must know it with your running. Like, you get to a point where you're no longer pushing shit uphill and you're actually sort of in this nice zone where you can just maintain the pace. And it took ages to get there because I was just lazy.
But this is your teenage years, though, right? When you're still at school.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone's a little lazy at that point.
Yeah, but it carried on. It was a theme that carried on well into my like sort of. In terms of the rowing sense, the work ethic in rowing was something that coaches were consistently needing for me to work on until I was about. I really sort of put a nail in the coffin around 2014, 2015 when I started at the Regional Performance Centre here in Auckland with some of the coaches there. It was crazy hard program, and all of a sudden you just like came over the hump and you could actually do all of the training and you had a good work ethic. And I've sort of made it one of my strengths at that point because I'd just done it for so long and I was just fighting that fight for so long, and I was so angry about it. When people said, "Oh, Cam's being a pussy," I was like, "Fuck." So I hated feeling that like accusation of being a pussy. So I just fought against it the whole time and just worked my ass off.
So it was fuel, worked as fuel.
Yeah. And once you get on the path of that, like proving someone wrong, it's kind of infectious, man. Like, you just like, look at that result. Yeah, fuck you. Look at that result. You know, you keep proving them wrong, and it's really good.
Yeah. So you retired from rowing 3 years ago, and then there was, from what I can gather, there was like a gap of maybe 5 or 6 months before Team New Zealand came along.
Yeah.
What would you be doing now if you quit row? What did you see yourself doing when you retired from rowing?
Well, actually, funny you say that, but just because I talked to Joe Sullivan, who was a cycler and a grinder on the 2021 and 2017 campaign on Team New Zealand, and a rowing legend. First of all, I watched him when I was in the Junior World Champs. I watched them win gold at the Olympics, one of the most impressive races ever. You know about that one. Like, just
Joe Sullivan and Nathan Cohen.
Yeah.
I've had Joe on the podcast.
Yeah, honestly, like, fuck, it's such a cool race to watch. But yeah, so he'd been in touch with me during the 2021 or before the 2021 campaign, just sort of canvassing to see if I'd be interested in joining the team. So, and when I was finishing up with a rowing, I can't remember exactly the timeline, but there was an email that was sent out not long after I retired, like a month or two maybe, from Kim Simpringham, who's the S&C at Team New Zealand. And he was sort of putting a call out to all the people that sort of from the different sports and NSOs that they thought might be good for the role. And there was a 5 or 6 group of us from rowing, and then I don't know, whoever else from other sports. So I kind of knew that there was something there, and I knew that I needed to get onto it, but I also had my degree to finish, and I was sort of like, just enjoying my time. So I'd just have days, and I'd have half the week in Cambridge and then half the week in Auckland. Sort of, yeah, it was a good time, but it was a bit all over the place, really.
Yeah, why the decision to retire from rowing? You put a massive post up on Instagram, which is it's really nice, but it talks about all your achievements.
Yeah.
Doesn't sort of highlight the disappointments. But yeah, was it like a bittersweet time?
Well, the whole period, I guess, you could say a period from 2018 onwards was quite bittersweet with some really lovely moments. Like, I did a pretty solid rowing career. I'd had Junior World Championship gold, and I got 4th the next year in the same boat class. And I'd been in the RPC system, and I was sort of gradually doing this. My erg times were getting better, and I was like, fuck, this is me, and I'm really enjoying this. got silver at under 23s 2015 and gold at under 23s in 2016. And I was like, we are on here. Like, I'm doing well at this. Then made this New Zealand summer squad team for 2017. So it was like this really steady build, and I was, improving really well. And then in 2018, the men's 8 that I was a part of got last at the World Champs. And that was like I was in my best physical condition I'd ever been in, strongest, fittest, leanest, everything was covered. And then I got dropped from the team after that. And that decision, I've come to terms with it, but I think it was marginal. But, what are you going to do? Someone else makes the decision. And essentially got dropped from the team and had to figure out how to get my way back, essentially. There's no option of quitting.
Was anyone else dropped?
Yeah. There was like a group of 4 of us from the team. And yes, they kept, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 4 of us that got dropped. And we had to sort of operate out of the regional centre down in Waikato. And it was a blow because I was like, fuck, I'm in my best condition. And we did perform poorly, but and that was our responsibility, but it was a shared responsibility amongst everybody. And they brought in a whole lot of younger athletes that some of them, have had since gone very quickly after they joined the program. And there was guys like me and some others that really gritted it out and stayed and trained outside of the building and outside of the high performance program down in Cambridge to really get our way back in. And I sort of see that as sort of my sort of one of the adversity arcs that I sort of had to go through to really learn who I am as a person. Like, being excluded from the team sort of really brought back to that shit when I was younger. I was like, man, no one values me anymore. Not getting paid to do what I need to do here. I'm struggling financially and mentally, and all of your self-worth is really focused on how you row a boat. And that's kind of how it needs to be, because rowing's your livelihood and you want to be really good at it. But yeah, from that point onwards, I sort of just trained like doggedly hard. Like admittedly, that first summer that I was back out of the team was a little bit like finding my feet again. And then all those guys sort of left, and I was sort of training on my own through the winter because I didn't make the trial team for the next stage. So I had the whole winter essentially just on my own. And some of the younger athletes as well. And I was just on the erg, and I was like, okay, I need to get back to my peak fitness. And I just dug my toes in, man. I was like, I'm going to do it. And managed to get down within half a second of my best ever 2K erg time, which was like, this was best by miles. Oh, not by miles, but best by a long way in the team. And by the end of 2019, I made it back into the New Zealand summer squad for the Tokyo selection squad, which was an incredible moment for me, because I was like, I did it on my own back and with a lot of help from incredible people in the regional system. But I managed to do it without the help of them, and I had such pride in what I'd done. And then obviously not getting selected and then COVID came through. COVID was just like that massive, people.
Oh yeah, the Olympics, Tokyo Olympics were delayed a year.
Yeah.
So you were trying to make the rowing 8 squad for the Tokyo Olympics. How close were you?
Yeah, I was the first reserve. Essentially there's 4 guys on each side in the 8. I was the first bowsider out of the boat, and it was like quite tight between us. So it was like, I felt like I was on a roll, and I was rowing the boat quite well, and I was really aware of what I was doing. I was on top of my shit, and I was ready to keep pushing. Like in the national champs, me and Michael Brake, my very good friends, we had a really good race, and I think we got 3rd in the men's premier pair at nationals. So that's top 6 rowers in the country at that point. So, but even then at that point, I still didn't feel like I was good. Like I still had this, this perception and this identity that I was just this big guy, cumbersome, hard to row with, big erg, but couldn't put on the water,
Why? Was it just a story you were telling yourself, or was it based on fact?
I think there was definitely a fact to it. There was a huge bit missing that I didn't really understand of my rowing stroke. That's getting to quite the nitty-gritty of the rowing details. But essentially what it was, that there was some key parts of my stroke that I never really learned properly as a kid. And I had to then, after the Tokyo campaign was obviously COVID came through, we tried to figure out how to make that work. Didn't make the Tokyo team, which is a huge blow. But also I understood. Like I was like, yeah, I'm just not good enough. And I'm not the guy that they need for the team. And I had to essentially relearn how to row after that, because I knew that there was a important part of my stroke that was missing. So I had to essentially like tear all the old bark off the tree bit by bit. And there's some coaches down in Cambridge that really helped me do that, and were really patient with me because I wasn't particularly positive. I was positive, but it was a hard process, and I got upset a lot because I knew that I needed to do it, and it wasn't happening in the time frame I needed it to. So I had to relearn my stroke bit by bit, and I guess the reason that I ended up retiring was because I actually got asked to leave. Funny thing, I was so stubborn, and I was continuing because I knew I could do it. I could rebuild my stroke, and I could get there. I knew I could, but it was just taking fucking ages. And I was just fighting because I mean, like you think about like with your running, you've got a certain technique that you naturally do, and then you've got the ideal, and you sort of like. You're never the ideal because you've always got some things with your biomechanics or whatever that don't work with the ideal technique. And I was constantly getting into hard situations, and it would just trip over back into my habits because there was like 10 years of competitive rowing in this one type of way of doing it. And I just never quite I summited that mountain, I guess.
It makes perfect sense. Like to use the running analogy, like if when I'm feeling fresh, like my arms will be swinging down by my side, my shoulders will be back. As soon as you get in pain or discomfort, I'm hunched over, my arms are up high, clenched fists.
Exactly, and it's not helpful sometimes, but it's just what the neuromuscular pathways. I went right down the rabbit hole, man. Went to do like some sort of neuromuscular like Pilates, and I was figuring out I was crazy.
You're a determined fucker, right?
Yeah, if I don't...
Stubborn.
Yes, stubborn, I guess. Yeah. I'm a reasonable dude, though, but stubborn, yeah.
Your friend Michael Brake, he said, this is a quote, Cam is a hammer. Power is his thing, finesse not so much.
Yeah.
I think that's talking about your rowing.
Yeah. I mean, that's... it still hurts to hear that. I'll be honest. I tried to do the finesse thing, but I just couldn't figure it out. And I think that's just... accepting that it's all good because there was a sport right around the corner that rewarded every bit of my strength plus some. So it was like, I think the journey of trying to figure out go right down that path of trying to figure it out was so helpful for me because like, man, what I learned about myself and everything in the process was ridiculous. Like I was constantly confronted with my inadequacies every day. I'd wake up in the morning and go, fuck, how am I going to do this? My first summer squad year, I'd see the program and I'd go, holy shit. Turn up to training completely buggered. Like you'd turn up to training buggered and you'd have like a 30K row to do and weights in the afternoon. And I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And it was like that for years. And especially towards the end, it was more a mental struggle at the end because I knew I had to like go out on the water and see if I could actually rebuild my stroke still and see if I could do it. And I knew I was failing. That's the thing. I knew I wasn't doing well at it because I'd get halfway through a session, I'd just fall right out the back and I'd go, it was ever present to me and I was never blind to it. So yeah.
It's fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It was, but I don't know. Like, yeah.
No, it is. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like you want something so bad. Yeah. You're doing everything that's asked of you. Like you're ticking all the boxes, and it's just not. How do they tell you that you've missed out on the Olympics?
Oh yes.
Is that a delicate conversation, or is it fairly?
I think the communication has never been Rowing New Zealand's strength. I guess it's getting better from what I've heard. But I guess it was. Yeah, it was always hard, but I knew every time. Like it was right because we'd do seat racing. We'd go out there and do a week's worth of racing, 1,500 meters, maximal effort. We'd do at least six of them a day, sometimes 8 or 9. And that's 5-minute maximal efforts. And that's over that you do that for 5 days in a row, and then do a 2K race at the end of that. So that's the sort of shit you do at rowing to get to figure out if you got on the team. And you sort of knew the pecking order after a week like that, and so the decision was never really a surprise. Yeah, so I mean, it's
So it's based just on performance because I think you'd be a good guy to have around a team environment from what I can gather from what I've learned about you. So you think, well, he's not necessarily the best rower, but he's great for team morale and great for positivity.
Yeah. I think that's what and the other thing is that I was still within the top 10 best rowers in the country at that point. And this was one of the strongest eras of rowing ever in New Zealand. So, like, for me to say I wasn't a good rower is actually just my perception of it. The reality of the situation, I was actually very, very good at it, which has taken a long time for me to actually feel okay saying and feeling okay to own that, because I was good, but it just wasn't as good as my best friends, which were Olympic gold medalists,
Yeah. How does that feel? So, so one of your best mates, Michael Brake, he's a gold medalist as part of that rowing 8, which you just missed out on. How's watching those Olympics?
Oh, fuck. It was crazy, man. It was because it was at the Cloud. All the racing was broadcast at the Cloud, and rowing had this like pretty big sort of pop-up thing at the Cloud, and there was the big philanthropic donor, this guy Sean Colgan, who's a really cool, eccentric American guy who was funding a lot of the AIDS programs at that point, the women's and men's AIDS program. I became friendly with him, and I was there standing at the top of this like sort of the seats watching the 8, and I was actually at Sean Kirkham's house. So just want to say that, like, the guys in that 8 are some of my best friends, like Tom McIntosh, Sean Kirkham, Michael Brake, like Tom Murray, like it's like Matt McDonald. Like, those guys are some of like the most incredible people I know. Like, they're just here we go. My friends are some of the most amazing people, and that's it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so but it must be mixed emotions.
Yeah,
like
it was hugely
fucking stoked for them.
That's why I'm sort of getting there. Like, we're sitting up in the top of that those sort of grandstands, like watching the race, and I just like see them start, and I knew the boat felt really good because I raced and trained in that boat quite a bit. And I fell off before the trial, and then post trial I didn't row on the boat, but I sort of felt what they were trying to do in terms of rhythm and technique. Because in rowing, there's sort of this like there's 8 people, and you have to get them on one particular way of doing it, and you have to, first of all, you've got to get buy-in of all the people wanting to do it that certain way and believing that it's the right way to do it. And that's the hardest thing to do. Cool thing is that I had Hamish Bond, like one of the best rowers ever in the world,
savage,
legend. People say don't meet your heroes. I'm really, really glad I've gotten to know him. Just want to say that. He's an incredible guy and an awesome person to learn from. And to be a pair with him at Team New Zealand was so amazing. He's also like the most random dude ever, but he's great.
He deserves all the success he gets in life. He had to share a boat with Eric Murray for like 10 years.
I know. But yeah, I was up there watching this men's 8 race, and you see them come out the start, and they've just got this huge rhythm. You can see it when you've watched rowing for a long time. You can see a boat that's really being bold and like really giving it a lot of pressure, a lot of intensity, but then letting the boat run a shitload. And those guys essentially perfected that, and they called it I think they called it the what was it, the BD. Essentially, it was a big dick rhythm. They just wanted to lay it out there. I know.
I love it.
I know. And that's what it was. And you could see them rowing like that. And they came through they came out the start, and they were like level pegging with everybody. And that's like, oh, okay. Usually the men's 8, New Zealand men's 8 haven't been particularly good at that in the past. And then they got through the 1,000 meters. And this is sort of like crunch time at a rowing race. And this is where you can sort of see who's really got the race by the scruff. And I think it was like 1100 or 1250 meters gone. They just did this big move, and they just took like a seat or two. And that's essentially like, like 2 meters, 2 or 3 meters. And I was just sitting in this grandstand. I was like, fuck, these guys are going to win. Like, they're just going to win. I was sitting there with Sean, who was, like funding the program. We were just sitting there like, oh my God. And everyone in the crowd is just like absolutely just electric. Like, we're sitting there watching, like, the last time New Zealand men's 8 won gold was in 1972, like 50 years earlier. Like, and they won in convincing fashion. They were just out in front the whole time. Whereas this race was a bit more of a nail biter. And Germany had been this like dominant force forever. Like, every single world champs, they were the gold standard. And our boys just went out there and just laid it out. And it was incredible to watch. And then you come through the last sort of 300 meters, and everyone's just in tears. And everyone's just going, I cannot believe this is happening. And then you come, so then 250 meters to go, I see there's a close-up shot of Hamish, and he's just like starts yelling, and he's just swinging on it, and he's right down the back of the boat. So everyone in front of him can hear him, and they just take off again. And then by that point, they've got enough margin, and they just come through the line about, I don't know, a third of a boat length ahead. And like watching them do that was like, that's my dream. And that was my dream. And so there was like this, there was this jealousy, there was this, this envy, but then almost this huge amount of pride, because I'd gone there with those guys. Like, I was a part of that program for 5 years before that, in the elite program. Really, like, I know these guys as good as anyone else would, and there's such that. And to see them do that it just gave me so much satisfaction. But then also I was just like, fuck. Damn it. Like, so I didn't get to do it.
So you leave the cloud, you hop back in your car.
Nah, we got hammered that night, man. We got hacked. Yeah. There was champagne bottles flying around, and we just, we got, it was a big celebration that night.
I think that's a really good explanation. It's a crazy position to be in, because obviously you're happy for them because they're your mates and you want them to succeed. But I can't imagine the severity of the FOMO.
Huge. Absolutely huge. And I don't know, but then I realized real early on when I was younger that you get so much more benefit and personal like positivity that comes out of celebrating other people's success than being envious of that. Envy is like a cancer, man. It just like it only ruins your own experience, because you're all jealous, and it's just so yuck. Yeah. And I realized, I think there's one moment in under 23s where one of the other girls, I'd done really well, or I think they'd raced before us or something. I can't remember. And I had a choice, and I thought to myself, I'm either going to congratulate them and be really happy for them, or I'm not. Because I was figuring shit out at this point. And I went up to her, gave her a massive hug. I was like, that was such an awesome performance. You guys did so great. And I just had this flood of this euphoric flood of emotions. I was like, I'm never being envious ever again, because it's going to kill me if I do. I'd never really done it in the past, but it just reinforced to me that was 100% the right way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, as humans, we're born with like an endless supply of compliments, eh? So just like hand them out. Like it costs, like, if you're scrolling on Instagram, honestly, and someone's done something good, like, write a comment. It takes nothing.
And I think there's not enough credit where it's due. I think is not really given enough out. And especially in New Zealand, like, well, like what you've done with your podcast, like what you've done with your career, incredible. You've been a synonymous name through radio, and now you've done this, and you've just excelled. And it's like, for people to actually comment and say that, I think is not common enough. And I love doing it. When someone's done something really well, I'm like, hell yeah, like, good on you, bro. That is so sick. Like Michael the other day, he called me up, Michael Break, called me up, and he's got this new job down in Tauranga. He's doing his civil engineering, and he's working in this sort of property development. And that's what he's wanted to do for ages. And I was just like, yes, bro. He was battling a bit for a while after rowing and sort of figuring his stuff out. And, I could hear in his voice that he was like really on his like path that he could start chewing away at. And to see him do that, I'm just like, I just love it.
Yeah, you're such a positive guy. But that's interesting. Just picking up on something you said there about Michael battling after rowing. So his career ended with a cherry on top, right?
Yeah.
Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, amazing.
Job done.
Yeah.
You get asked to leave.
That was a fun conversation, man.
Oh, yeah, was it?
Yeah. It was actually quite nice. I had a really, really nice row in the morning in the single. It was a really lovely morning, foggy, a little bit cold, like real flat water, beautiful. Had a really nice row. Got into the thing. I was at Gary, my coach, was like, hey, can I come have a chat with you? I was like, oh, yeah, all good. I thought it was just a debrief, whatever. And he was like, Cam, we're going to suggest you don't trial for the next world champs. And I was like, And honestly, my first emotion was sadness. My next emotion, very, very quickly after, was relief. I was fucked. I was so tired. Mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. I was done. But I knew I could do it. So I didn't want to give up on it. But I knew, so it was like that stubbornness definitely reared its head at that moment.
Yeah, and they must have known you were never going to make that call.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'd never made it in the past.
Fuck, that's a tough conversation though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think me and Gary really hugged it out and we had a good chat about it. So, I mean, ended up, I knew that it was, you sort of feel this stuff happening. If you're completely blind to the reality of the world, you might not see it.
So the writing was on the wall.
The writing's on the wall, man. Like,
Still, that's rough. Who do you call after that? Is it your parents or a sibling?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I sort of came up to Auckland and I just sort of, I don't know what I called. I think I called my dad. Yeah, just the family, just being around the family and just parking up in Auckland back on the shore and just, getting the people around, I think was really important. Yeah. Yeah,
because it's a big part of your life, like a massive chapter that has basically been shut for you.
I was pretty glad about it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, but back to like your good mate Michael. So it's like he finished with a gold medal, and then it's like he's got that awkward thing where you're leaving this chapter of your life and you're discovering what's next. But at least he got to sort of end on his own terms.
Yeah, I guess so.
How was your mental health over that time?
Oh, pretty shit, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of I just lost all my confidence. Like you've met me now, like I'm pretty outgoing, pretty bubbly, and I've always been like that. But I guess my own internal sense of confidence was really compromised from at least that 2018 point onwards. I was really sort of, my self-worth was completely tied up in how I rode a boat. And it wasn't about who I was as a person, what I was learning in the process, what type of athlete I was. I was also trying really hard to be good at all that other stuff so that maybe that was influencing my selection decisions. And also I had a really positive reaction to every single supportive sort of morale element I was adding to a team environment. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. It was natural to me too. But I was incredibly mentally drained. Yeah, and just confidence was low. It was pretty sad. I mean, just for context, I wasn't in any kind of really compromising mental position, but I felt shit about who I was, and I wasn't in poverty and I wasn't in all these horrible, circumstances that so many other people are in, but subjectively, I felt shit about my circumstance. I was still very lucky, feel very privileged in so many aspects of my life, but so many, those main parts were really hard.
Yeah, I just can't begin to imagine how lost you would have felt, and also just wondering what life's. I mean, it's worth pointing out at this time. So you were sort of you're Cambridge based, and you're in that whole sort of high performance bubble. Like, you were in lockdown with Michael Break and Olivia Podmore.
Yes,
the late cyclist, and hanging out with Eric Murray. You introduced Liv to Eric, and they became like best mates.
Yeah. So I was so Liv was living with Mike and Andy at that point over on the other side of Cambridge, and we did COVID together. So I got to know Liv quite well during that, and just tragedy on that front. Firstly,
for sure,
it just shocked everybody. She was definitely sad, and you could tell. I had a conversation with her at the velodrome one day where she had some sadness with Mike and her current partner, and at the time, and she was just in this hysterical state of I don't know, indecision and stress, and I didn't know what to say to her. I was like, I mean, you just got to put out an olive branch. If you feel like you want to say sorry about something, you just got to put out an olive branch, and that was sort of one of the last proper chats I had with her, and just the effect that has had on the environment, I think, is huge, and I think there's still some lessons that that sort of the higher ups could learn from that, and maybe it hasn't shocked the system enough of what it should have. Not that it should never have happened in the first place, But I mean, it's just it's a fucking horrible thing. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Joseph Sullivan, I had him on the podcast a couple of years ago, and he talked about the callousness of the way he was dumped.
Oh yeah.
And then felt lost for a while, and then he sort of found the New Zealand Fire Service, which I guess for you is Team New Zealand. But how did you find like the duty of care from Rowing New Zealand or High Performance New Zealand?
I think
okay?
Yeah, I mean, Rowing New Zealand does their best with what they've got, essentially. I mean, there's a group of athletes that joined. It's called the Athletes Cooperative. Essentially, it's a union, trade union that was set up to challenge the working conditions of athletes in the high performance system. And there's a group of cyclists and rowers that were sort of aligning with the guys from Athletes Federation. So they ran the union that was set up to make rugby a professional sport back in the 2000s. So like guys like Rob Nichol and Roger Mortimer and they were really pivotal in sort of highlighting to us the environment that we're in and the fact that it is not okay. The way that things are done in that environment needs to change, and the only way it's going to change is if we take some action and we really grab the bull by the horns, and we have done that. And it's a long process, and there's some really incredible people working incredibly hard to try to change things. And you just get met with this big no hand when you go to high performance sport, and it's just sad, really, because I'm careful what I say here, but like because I got so much benefit from being in that system. So it's kind of I've got to tread a knife edge here, because I got so much benefit. Sports psych, physio, supplements, like all these things were handed to us as young athletes, which was incredible, and the services that we got were incredible. But as time goes on, you realize that it is a bit of exploitation, and the system does need to change. And the only way that happens is if you stand up and you take responsibility and you try and level the power dynamic. It's a paternal power dynamic, and things are determined by high performance sport, and then it flows down to every NSO and the athletes, and you're stuck within this concrete box of opportunity, and without any kind of taking responsibility that the athletes can do, you're just stuck there. So that's essentially what we're trying to do.
I think that's really well articulated. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
I've thought about it a lot. I've had a lot of angry discussions with people who like, oh, why are you doing that? I'm just like, I just get my eyes go wide like this. I'm like, you don't know what it's like.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. So it's like if you're in good, you're very well looked after. Yes. But as soon as you're out in the cold.
Yeah, well, if you're like on the fringe, because I was a fringe athlete. Like I was that one who was kind of on the edge of the decisions of the selections. And there's so many people like me, and probably majority of the people, like there's only so many Hamish and Erics and, and Twigs and Eva Swindells and Rob Waddell's and Men's Eights. There's a limited number of people, and there's so many people on the other side of that. And even like someone like Joe, who was on the top side of that and then got, thrown out. So yeah, it's a pretty brutal environment, but I mean, again, I've learned so much about myself and what I can do better and how I can be good. So
yeah, that's a hindsight thing, though, isn't it? That's a hindsight thing.
In the moment, I did know what was going on. I thought I knew to myself in the last especially only in the last couple of years, really. I was like, this is fucking hard, and I know it's hard, but I know I'm getting a lot of benefit out of this. So I'm just going to keep going. So when anyone young row or someone's asked me about what they should do with their sport, I go, well, I can't really give you advice. I can tell you what my experience was. I didn't really want to do it for the last couple of years. So what I said to them was like, do it until you don't want to do it anymore, and then give it a year, because things can change. Every athlete who's gotten a gold medal or succeeded has had a huge up and downs. They've gone and done really well, and then they've had this period of adversity, then they bounce back up again. So you kind of have to ride those difficulties out in order to see the potential that comes out of it. Yeah.
How did you come right again after that?
I joined Team New Zealand, man. It was like a fucking life raft, man. It saved
from one boat to another.
Honestly, it saved me.
No, but was it like an immediate jump from from rowing to yachting, or was there like
about 6 months? There was about 6 months between.
Yes. What did that 6 months look like?
I was up here 2 days a week from Cambridge, and I was staying at home with mum and dad.
So you're keeping active.
Yeah. So I was also training a little bit. Like I was actually just doing what I wanted to do training wise. I was going to the gym at uni, and because you get to an end of a really like content heavy law day of at uni, and you just like want to smack your head against the wall because you got so much of this shit in your head, and you're like, I just want to just blow out some endorphins. So I just go to the gym and just be a brute for an hour or so. But then I sort of was more in touch with Kim, the S&C and at Team New Zealand, and I was like, okay, I need to start really getting stuck in here. And I got one of my old flatmates who was down in Cambridge. He was a sports physiologist for the New Zealand men's track cycling team for their team pursuit. So he was incredible, and he wrote me a program, and I followed his program to a T for like, I don't know, 3 months, I think, three or 4 months. and I turned up to the trial in pretty good physical condition, and yeah, there was the 4 tests that we had to do for the team, and managed to come out on the top, I don't know, I think it was top 5 or something, at least within the top 9, because that's who got into the team. I don't really know where I sat, but yeah, managed to make the team, and then, you know, from the middle of December, I sort of was on the Team New Zealand path.
Straight back into it. Yeah, Blair Tuke told me a story about the test. I might have the timeline wrong. Maybe you can fill in some of the blanks here.
Yeah.
But he said you just had your head down. You didn't really speak. Didn't really say much to anyone. Just sort of kept to yourself. And then after one of the testing, you let out a massive like "fuck yeah!"
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's a bit of my. I mean, people that know me would know that that's not uncommon for me to do. When I'm stoked with what I've done on a test, I don't hold back.
But you were like completely like quiet and just in your own.
Because before a test, you just kind of like, I was in a new environment, and I was like, okay, I need to just, you know, feel it out and sort of be a bit quiet. And yeah, hey boys, how we doing? Good. It was the 20-minute test that we did. Actually, funny story, that 20-minute test. I was like, I was on some good numbers, and I felt good and through the halfway. And then I had, obviously you have your watch on that has all of your training data and your heart rate data on it. And I was, you know, cruising through halfway, and I was, you know, feeling good. And I was like, I'm actually on here. Like, this, you know, when you're on in a race, like you must feel it in some of your running when you like get through the halfway, like 10K, 11K mark, and you're like, I'm feeling pretty good here. We could go for a nudge. Like when you broke the 3 hour, you must have been like, I might be on here.
Yeah, completely.
And you're like, and you get this sort of like this really good rush of endorphins. And you're like, shit, I'm going to do it. And the last 5 minutes, I was like, I felt really on, and then I saw my watch because it's connected to my phone on Bluetooth. So I saw like a message from Hamish Bond come up, and I was just like, it was just so serendipitous in these moments, because I was just like, an idol that I've had forever in my rowing is now like becoming potentially one of my teammates with this Team New Zealand environment. He's just messaged me to say some things, and like I'm just in this environment and I'm performing to my best capability right now. And I was just like, holy shit, this is so sick. And I just buried myself, managed to do a personal best on the 20-minute FTP test. And then when it was finished, I was like, fuck yeah! Just like smacked the mic, like, hell yeah! Like, I think that kind of illustrated what I was like from then on to the boys, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
All right, it became a bit of a theme, I guess.
Let's the Team New Zealand stuff. First of all, Grant Dalton, is he scary?
Yeah, he's definitely scary.
What interactions have you had with him?
I've had some funny interactions with Dalt, so yeah, no, he's a gruff dude, but man, he gives a shit. You can tell. Like
he's the beating heart of Team New Zealand. He has been for decades.
I think of him as like the spearhead arrow. Like you've got this massive people behind, but you have to have that pointy person at the front that's going to just direct the team. And he does that, man. He is incredible at it. Like he is the biggest advocate for the team you've ever seen. Like he's just anything the team, just yes, let's make it happen. He doesn't give a shit what other people think of him. And I just love that.
Yeah, and he's done all the hustling for so many campaigns as well.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch, really.
Do you do a Grant Dalton impression?
No, I don't dare do a Dalton impression. No. He hasn't got. Never really quite slipped into that one. Yeah.
America's Cup reflection. So you're in Barcelona for months, which looked amazing.
Yeah.
What happens after that final race? Did you get Louis Vuitton bag?
No, nothing, mate.
Nah.
Yeah, didn't get anything. No.
Did you go to any parties with like George Clooney or anything?
Nah. That's all. Chuki and Pistol. They go to the Omega parties with the boys.
Copy.
You copy, kid. Fate's cracker. He's the best. Yeah, we just celebrated, man. It was just an unadulterated piss up, and you just went out and just celebrated. We had a team function the day afterwards as well, and that was real special because you just got to. The dust was settling too. We were all quite hungover, but the day, like the actual race, was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I saw an Instagram post from you. So this is 6 months after joining Team New Zealand. Not going to lie, it's been a long time since I felt genuinely excited about what's going on in life. Yeah. And to say I've been excited lately is an understatement. So grateful to be part of this team and for the opportunities I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like straight away it's like you were kicked out of this tribe, for lack of a better term. Yeah. And then straight away, like you fell into another one.
Yeah, and like I'll say this to everyone. We had a team sort of debrief with just the sailing team. A couple of days after the race, the cup finished, and we all sort of said a couple of words, and I essentially just said to them, I was like, hey, look, like, I know I'm a lot. I know I'm this personality that's, overbearing at times or whatever, but the way I felt about the team is that they, as soon as I turned up, they not only accepted me, but celebrated me as a person, and it fixed me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, bro, that's awesome.
Yes. It's like a life raft, man. I've told everyone this too. Like, this is not uncommon knowledge. Like, those people are incredible. And they show, they show appreciation in such an interesting way. Like, people talk about, like, there's this...
When you say they, who do you mean? Just
the team in general,
whole,
and sort of the closer sailing team, and just the sort of culture within the team is very much, it's show appreciation and support with your actions and not with your words. And for me, that was the opposite of how I ran my life. I was always very supportive, vocally. And I sort of struggled a little bit sometimes when push came to shove to, like, really support people, and it was a bit of a, shortcoming of mine. And I was like, and when I joined the team, I felt no expectation to say the thing, to support the person in the words way and give them a hand on the shoulder and be like, I'm there for you, It's like, but I just noticed everywhere everyone would do the stuff for each other. It was the actions that were done day to day that, that I saw anyway, from my perspective, that people just devoted themselves to the better of the team. And it was inspiring to be a part of.
It's so cool to hear that, because it feels like you guys, the cyclists, are like workhorses.
Yeah.
You just head down, just war horses, just grinding away.
Yeah. No, we are. But I mean, we love it, man. Like, we get on the watt bike and just work. Just get stuck in, get sweaty, get tired. Like, I was definitely pretty knackered by the end of the campaign, just because I'd been, training like that for a long time, and I was pretty over. I get into some of those harder sessions, like, 20 times, 1 minute on, 1 minute off at some, 600, 550, 600 watts on the watt bike. And God, it's confronting. Especially at 7 o'clock in the morning. You just wake up and you get there, you're like, and I'd commute most of the times from Greenhithe into town on my bike. So I'd cycle into work, and then we'd get on the bike and I just at times I just go, man, I'm buggered, and I just don't want to be doing this.
Meanwhile, Blair and Pete, what are they doing? They're playing touch rugby at Victoria Park.
They do play, there is a sort of team touch on Thursday mornings, which we never got to be a part of. But those guys are relentless, man. Like, the amount of meetings, the amount of data, the amount of analysis that goes on in that place, and it's directly from sailors to designers. They have so many meetings that constantly outline what was done, what was the changes, what did we feel, what can we do better next time? And that's just my perception of what happened. I've never really been a part of the meetings, but it's just the amount of development that's constantly happening, and the hunger to make it better and better and better constantly. Like, the boat was being developed right up to the very end. Some sails, some changes, some tweaks. There's never any complacency, which is really to say I learned what excellence looks like in a life situation was an understatement. I saw it every day. I had a really confronting conversation with someone once over in Barcelona, because we were building this weird, it was like a spray booth extraction, air extraction booth, and it was essentially for the spraying parts or grinding some carbon stuff. And we had to build this this plywood box essentially, and we were making it look all nice, and it was getting covered in bog and getting painted and really finished really nicely. And I sort of made an offhand comment and sort of said, do we need to do this? Does it need to be this nice? And this dude who's a notorious, James Graham, who's notorious for being says exactly what he thinks. He said, that's exactly why you'll never get it. And I was like, fuck. I was like, holy shit. And I was like, it put me on my ass, man. I was like, okay. I just pulled my head in that day. I was really introspective. I was like, whoa, what was that about? And then over the next couple of days, I sort of realized, I was like, that's what excellence looks like. it's doing the thing to that standard, even when it doesn't seem necessary. Because when you do the little jobs like that really well, it actually, the rest of it just takes care of itself. You don't even have to think about doing anything with the big jobs with excellence because it's already happening at the small detail level. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Not cutting corners at any step of the way.
Yeah, and seeing it in practice. Because I think it's hard to like justify it in your own life until you've seen the evidence of it. Yeah.
Did I had Dr. Nick Gill on the podcast, the All Blacks strength and conditioning coach. Yeah. I think he told me, or maybe I'm getting him confused with another podcast guest, that Richie was asked to be a cyclor.
Yeah, I think he trialled for it. I don't know the details of it, but yeah, I think he did it.
That's the sort of caliber of person I'm looking at.
Yeah, there's some pretty incredible dudes that trialled for it, yeah.
Well, it's good that he gave you a go.
Yeah, good that they gave me a shot. Oh, we'll give this low performer a shot, eh? Why not?
Just something you picked up on, something I picked up on before. You said often you were cycling to work from Greenhithe, which is how 20 k's,
27 k's.
27 k's. Why would you cycle 27 k's to work when you know you're going to get on a bike as soon as you get to work?
Well, it just suited the program sometimes. Like sometimes we would have a gym session in the morning, and we'd have a big cycle in the afternoons, and it made sense for me to ride my bike to work, do the gym session, and then ride my bike back home again and do my big session in the afternoon. So I'd ride my bike, and you'd sort of leave your bike. I wouldn't do it every day. It was sort of on and off some days. I'd ride my motorbike to work some days, and I'd ride my bike to work other days. And it just worked with the program because sometimes I could leave my bike at work it just fit in well with what we were doing. And it was kind of nice to save money on gas and get to know the Auckland Western Cycleway a bit better.
You get those Lamborghinis, they're thirsty.
Oh, I know, I didn't have it at that point.
point. Yes, so in the lead up to, say, the America's Cup, what does an average day or average week look like for...
Yeah, over in Barcelona or here?
No, maybe here before you go.
Yeah. So I guess we would do... I can't remember exactly the program, but mainly it was either like an interval session in the morning, so maybe like a minute on, minute off session, or like a threshold session, or an FTP session, or like a power session, depending on what we needed to do. Some sprints maybe, and that was sort of usually around an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we'd sort of get into there's some chefs at the base, Harry Linsky and Matty Poy, legendary chefs, never had a bad meal in that building ever. And it was consistently amazing. And we'd have breakfast in the shed, in the kitchen, and then very quickly get onto the floor. And, either it was I needed to go see Sean and figure out what drives needed to be done, get in the ute, off I go. Or we would be on the floor doing some logistics and moving some things around so that the shed, we could operate how we needed to. Maybe the AC40s, which was a smaller boat, needed to be worked on or needed to be moved, or some containers were coming in, or there's so much happening in that shed that it requires a lot of manpower. So we were on that, either that or I was on the road.
And before these hard sessions, are you nervous? Like knowing how much pain you're going to be in?
Oh, yeah, but we're just used to it at that point.
Right.
With rowing especially, like it's you learn. And everyone in the building, all the boys sort of knew like how to handle hard sessions, and you just did it because you'd done it for so many years. Yeah. Yeah, in the afternoon. So then we'd come back and finish all of our sort of jobs, and then afternoon we'd either have a gym session or a long ride. Yeah. It sort of alternated between that. Usually it was around... I want to say like sort of 16 to 20 hours a week training. Yeah, with sometimes in our big weeks we'd have, like I remember one of our massive weeks in Auckland here, I had three 110k rides a week. So that was like 4 to 5 hours on the road. And
what sort of pace? Like 30 k's an hour sort of thing?
I mean, speed's often not helpful for that because, you're going up hills. It was at our sort of L2 zone, so zone 2 training. Everyone's getting quite familiar with zone 2 because running's just blowing up everywhere. So, that was our zone 2 stuff. But it often, we'd ride through, deep West Auckland, go up the Waitaks, go down to Piha, come back out, go to Muriwai, go back out, go through the Waitakates, and then go home to Greenhithe. So that was my standard big ride home from town here.
What about the money? Was the money good?
Yeah compared to what I was on. So
rowing Yeah, High Performance Sport New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you get? Is it like a set fee if you're in the squad? Or?
Yeah, I was on like, it changed a lot, but essentially it was around like 35 grand a year.
Yeah. Yeah, even at the top level, like the Dame Lisa's of the world, like I don't think she gets too much.
They're having a hustle to get extra on top of the, and I think it's the 65 or 70 they get for the excellence grant now, right. And I think that's a piss take.
Well, the sacrifices you make over so many years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard
about life on hold, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I've heard Eric talk about sacrifices before, and he's got a good take in it. I think Eric Murray, by the point. It's opportunity cost, and it's a choice, and it's something that you want to do. So, but you also, I think, should get rewarded for your efforts, and I think that getting. Yeah, it's definitely not enough for someone like Lisa Carrington, who's one of the most incredible athletes the world's ever seen. To be on that sort of money is, and it's not all about the money. It's definitely not. It shouldn't be about the money, but to support someone with only that much is not. It's not good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
So the money's better in Team New Zealand, but then as we were talking about before, the flip side of that is it's like shorter term contracts. Yeah,
but honestly, the contract with Team New Zealand felt way more secure than anything I'd have with rowing, because rowing was assessed essentially on the 6 monthly basis, because you'd have your after the World Champs, then you'd be selected for the World Champs 6 months later, then after that you'd have the next year, so it was always 6 monthly, whereas this, I had 2 years. I got contract until the end of the Cup 2024. I was like, shit, yeah, let's go. I felt like I could relax for the first time. Yeah.
Do you know anything about sailing now or no? Do you not need to?
Well, a little bit, enough to be able to hoist the sails in the boat. Well, to be fair, there's a lot of sailing in my family, like my sort of wider family. There's some world match racing champions, and my old man has idolized the team forever. Like, I wore his red socks that he bought in 2000. I wore them on the boat when we won last year. So, like, he has been, and my brother, he's an incredible sailor, and he loves it. He's out on a Kurz 40 yacht that another really good friend owns, and he just that sport for him has brought him back to life. He sort of had a bit of a mental low, and he's really felt like his role on that boat has really helped him too. And to be able to share a bit of my experience, albeit like what he would probably want to do, and I can understand he might be a bit like jealous or whatever the hell that emotion is, but I love that I've been able to include my family, who are such avid sailing nuts, in that. Yeah.
Yeah, can you believe that you're an America's Cup winner?
No, yep. Yeah, I held it above my head.
It's cool.
Oh, it's incredible, man. Like, I get in my groove down in Cambridge now, and I sort of relax, and I sort of forget, because I get a bit like in my own head, and I need to be better, and then I sort of zoom out a bit, and I go, oh shit, like, we actually done really, really well here. Yeah, that's cool, man. And I look back at the footage, and I look back on what we, the day, the actual after the race, and yeah, man, like holding that big mullet, like a Magnum with the America's Cup insignia on it, and with my mate Louis and Nate, and I was just like chuffed as, took a knee and had a big swig. Like, it was a real special moment.
Meanwhile, the SAS guy was already on the knee.
Yeah, Marius is already ready to go.
What's next? Are you hoping to be around for the next campaign?
I'd love to, man. Yeah. I have every intention of putting every foot forward that I can to be a part of the team again. But I haven't. There hasn't been much chat or any sort of about what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. So I'm just expressing my interest, and keeping in contact with the boys and staff and management, and going, hey, I really loved my experience and would love to do it again if you have me. So that's essentially where I'm at. But I'm not putting my life on pause up here and sort of waiting. I'm getting stuck in. We're back in Cambridge, getting our head to the ground. Let's make it happen. And then if it needs to happen, I'll figure out how to come back up here again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about SailGP? Do they have cyclones?
Nah, so SailGP is quite different. They run a different kind of boat. So their boat's a catamaran that has pedestal grinders. So they have arm grinders on there. Okay. On there, yeah.
What about other sports? So say you're lucky enough to do another America's Cup campaign. You'll be like early 30s after that.
Yeah.
What else do you want to do? You want to try endurance, like Ironman or something?
Yeah, I think funny, like 105 kilo guy loves running. Like, I love running. I'm shit at it. Like, I'm really bad at it, but I think it's one of the most accessible sports, and it's so good for you. But I mean, Ironman maybe, Probably just marathons, really. I wouldn't know at this point. It's a big call to say I do a marathon, but I might be able to get to a spot where I could do that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what my intuition says I should do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've got this incredible like work ethic and this engine that allows you to do really tough things. So like whatever you want to do, I reckon you could probably do quite successfully.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Yeah, I've probably, maybe, we'll see. I mean, unless I'm limited with my sort of physical, what I'm bound with physically. Like, I'm a big guy, I'm about 6'4", 105 kilos. So like running is not the most efficient thing I can do. For me, honestly, what I want to do is ride my motorbike more and drive cars more. That's really what I love doing. Yeah.
Oh, one of your friends, Dougal. Dougal wanted to ask about your love life. He said everyone's like rooting for you to find the one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, we're still on the path. So,
is your Bumble profile picture the yellow Lamborghini?
No. It's funny because that car has not featured anywhere. The only people that know about it are like my close friends, and now it's on the podcast. So I may as well start posting about it.
Yeah. And Michael, your friend, he said you love the dog breed Leon Burgers, which we talked about briefly earlier.
Yeah.
One of the biggest dog breeds in the world.
Yeah.
They must weigh like 50 or 60 kilos.
Nah, 70.
70.
Yeah, so Gus's, I've had two of them.
Lincoln was the last one.
Lincoln was the last one, yeah. So he was a lovely dog. And he passed away in front of me, which is kind of sad. Like he came in from just one night. I let him in and he was at the front door, just lying down in his usual spot. And all of a sudden he let out this big yelp and I was like, oh, what's happened here? And I was like, what are you doing, man? And I just looked over and he was just like lifeless and I could only see his head. And I went over and looked at him. I was like, he's just pissed all over the floor and he was just still. I was like, ooh, okay. So yeah, he was just dead. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, that's so traumatic.
Yeah, it was a shitty day.
How old?
He was 4.
Did they have quite a short lifespan?
10 years is sort of the expected, but
what was it?
I have no idea. I expected it was some kind of like heart issue, maybe. I don't know. It's hard. You have to do a biopsy, or it was an autopsy on them, and that's just. I felt like at that point it was not necessary. You know, he was gone, and I just could celebrate him in that way. Yeah, almost. Going back to my friends, so we got on the phone. All of our friends came over at midnight on like a Wednesday. And I was just parked up in my lounge and everyone was there. And I was just like, this is incredible. I didn't have to they were just there straight away. It's crazy to have a group of mates like that.
Yeah, but your circle of friends, I find, especially as you get older, it's a reflection of what you've put out on the world.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah, maybe.
That's devastating though. Like, my little dog's on.
Yeah, Kanye.
Is he around there?
Yeah.
He's like 11 or 12 now.
Oh wow, yeah.
When I first got him, the first thing I did, like within the first couple of days, I googled like how long does Sydney Silky stay? It's so morbid, but straight away, within a couple of days, I was like, "Fuck, I'm going to be broken when he dies."
It's bad. Like it's just, and you don't really. It's hard to process it straight away. So like. Yeah, and then it was 6 or 8 months later or a year later, I can't remember how long it was, got an email from the breeder who I know really well down in Cambridge, and she's a lovely couple down there, and I often go see them and take Gus back and we hang out. She was like, oh, we've had a litter that's come available because 2 of our dogs just had a quick root in the paddock. And it wasn't even a planned one. It was like completely unplanned.
What, the root in the paddock?
Yeah, no, just them having the litter. It was just an accident, really. And I got one of those ones. And Gus, he's been with me for mum and dad love him. They look after him while I was with them at home in Greenhithe, and they've just fallen in love with him. He's just such a cool dog. He's huge. Like he'd be sitting right here. Like he's like the head's like this big and. Yeah.
Why did you get the same breed again? Because I don't know if I'd want to get a Sydney Silky again because I think it would just remind me too much of Kanye.
I just love their temperament and their like the way that they roll. I guess the attitude. They've got a very like they're in it and they're hanging out and they're excited and then they're tired and they go sit down. And I'm like, I've had enough here, I'm going to go sit down. And they're a little bit indignant, a little bit stubborn, heaps of energy. And they're like a big dog, man. I I remember when I was young, I saw and hung out with a Newfoundland. And it was this big, black, slobbery, fluffy thing. And I was like, come here. When I was like 8 years old, and I ran up to it, I was like, come here. And I just couldn't get enough of it. And when I got older, I was like, oh, I'd like one that doesn't drool, because the Newfoundlands and the St. Bernards are the two other giant breeds, and they drool. So the Leonbergers have a tighter jaw. So with their sort of, their skin around the jaw. And and I just thought, bugger it, let's do it.
It is the dog version of you, eh?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Well, that's what Michael Brake, your friend, said. He said it's the Leonberger's a big, goofy dog, much like you.
For a big, goofy Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him, mate. He's brings so much positive energy into my life. Yeah, he's great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Just got some general questions to finish up with.
Yeah.
How's this been for you today? Is it good
great.
reflecting on the journey of your life so far?
I've felt like I've wanted to talk about it for a while. I've wanted to sort of, because I feel like it's quite a unique journey. Like, on reflection, I've gone, fuck, there's been some interesting like ups and downs and difficulties, and I've had to fight through a lot of my own shit to get to where I am. And I think that's relatable to a lot of people, especially not succeeding or not feeling like you succeed. And yeah, I think that's like, and I've been, as soon as I talked to Bella about, coming in here, I was like, yeah, this feels really right. And, to do it with you is awesome, because, growing up with radio and you being such a synonymous personality with broadcasting, it's like, man, it's a bit of a privilege, really. I feel really lucky to do it.
Well, I feel lucky that you're here today.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, any story where there's like a good dose of adversity, I think it's good. I think there's a lot of lessons that everyone can get from it.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your best and worst habits?
Oh, best habits is supporting others. Worst habits is not doing shit that I should right in the moment. Getting better at it. It's not easy, but I'd rather sit down and just chill out, man.
I think procrastination's a thing for a lot of people.
I know, but you may as well figure it out, because it's pretty hard. Like, the effects of it are pretty bad if you don't sort it out. So you may as well just get on top of it. And when you do it, actually, it's really good. Yeah.
Oh, it does. Yeah. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
The more you don't want to do something, the better it feels once you've got it done.
Yeah. And the better the outcome is in your life when you've done it. Yeah.
What are you most afraid of?
Ooh. Being abandoned, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Like, some pretty hard, like, yeah. Especially as, like, from a kid, like that whole exclusion thing and past relationships, it's like when you think something's going to be the thing you have forever, and it's gone, you're like, whoa, that was a big blow, and you have to figure yourself out from there. What am I most scared of?
Abandoned. Like, how do you mean? Did it feel like with Rowing New Zealand, like you were sort of abandoned?
No, I don't know. Like, I don't know, actually. No, it's a good question.
It's funny though, like talking about that school stuff though, that stuff, like bullying at a primary school age, it sticks with you.
But it happens to everybody.
And it creates a story or a narrative in the person's mind that often sticks with them for life, and it's hard to unpick.
Oh yeah, you've got to go down the rabbit hole, man. Like, I had an incredibly good sports psych that was from High Performance Sport, another amazing service that was really like kindly given to us. Jason Yule Proctor, and I worked with him for, I don't know, like 6 years, I think, from my under 23s. And me and him we just got stuck in, man. And just like started with this young stuff, started with the youth, and then we just picked away at it. And I was there fortnightly for 6 years. Well, on and off like this. I'd say probably on average once a month I'd see him. And I managed to like go and really get into the nitty gritty of it all. And it was pretty confronting, because I was a pretty fiery dude in boats at times. Like, I'd just lash out and get shitty, and it just was completely unhelpful. So me and him started with that, and then we went down sort of the further like mindfulness, meditation, watching your thoughts, seeing them come by, realizing that it's just a thought, it just happens, and just let it go, and then you make your decision on how you act afterwards. I guess that's been sort of fundamentally how I've tried to run it since then. Reactivity is just is something that you can so easily is not the word, but it's the first step of figuring your shit out. That's a really good one. Watch your thoughts, see what they do, act later, even if it's a second later. or even if you've just seen the anger come across, if someone said something to you and you go, oh, I didn't like that, and don't immediately go, ah. You sit there, oh, that hurt. Okay, now I'll say something. Or listen to it, have another conversation, say something tomorrow. And then if you really get really good at it, you don't even have to say anything to the person. You figure it out and you carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like you were talking about before with the Team New Zealand example with the guy detailing the boat.
Yeah.
And he said, you'll never get it. Like honestly. Immediately with any sort of confrontation, the natural reaction is to fire back.
Yeah.
But it's hardly ever the right reaction.
Yeah, because usually it's a misunderstanding or some other thing. Yeah.
It's like angry emails. Write it, leave it in the drafts. You'll look back the next day and you'll be like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Exactly. Exactly. It's ridiculous. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is like there's so much reactivity in the world and it's like, just chill out, man. And it also, like, how big of an issue is it really? Go for a run, go to the gym, get that energy out of your system and then make a decision because it's just, you're just too pent up about all the bullshit.
Yeah, most things you think, is it even going to matter? And you can apply it any way you want. 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months.
Yeah.
And the answer is generally fuck no.
No, exactly.
You've been really good with the vulnerability side of things today, like expressing some emotion and also just talking through some really crunchy stuff. Has that come as a result from the therapy, you think?
Yeah, I've never had a negative experience with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Ever in my life. And I don't know why that is. I think I'm pretty lucky maybe in that sense. I think I find safety in friendships by being vulnerable, and that the closer I am to somebody, the more safe I feel. So vulnerability is really my way of feeling safe in friendships. So that's been my first port of call, and getting more trust and that kind of thing with people. Yeah, as I said, just makes me feel really safe, and I can rely on it. You know, yeah.
Yeah, your friend Michael Brake said that in the message he sent me. He said sometimes you guys can talk on the phone for hours at a time.
Yeah, well, we went to Pauanui when we had a weekend in Pauanui and we didn't even watch any TV. We didn't do anything. We just sat around and yarned about everything and anything. Just because me and him are quite we like to break down all of the things that we're thinking and really get to the bottom of it, and it's lovely. It's awesome.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for guys to do it. There's all this perception that guys vulnerability is weakness. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, shut up. You know what it is? Weakness? Trying to be a tough guy.
You're bottling it up.
Yeah, and then you lash out at people.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
That's weakness, man. There's proper strength in letting yourself be bare to someone else. You know, wear your heart on your sleeve, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
Regrets?
I don't think I have any, really.
Not waiting for a red Lamborghini?
Red one would be cool. There's a nice red Diablo down in Cambridge I've seen a couple of times. Nice car.
No regrets? Not even exiting the rowing program sooner? No.
Nah, because I think with every positive or negative that comes in life, there's a flip side to that coin. With every negative, there's the corresponding positive. So you just got to look hard enough and you'll find it. Whether it's something that you can't really see. For me, I had to trust that the work I was putting in rowing for those so many years that had no real results. I had to trust that was something that was worth doing. And I had no idea where it was going to go. I just knew it was the right thing to do. And then when Team New Zealand came around, it was like I was just walking on air. I was like, this is going amazingly. And that's where the reward comes. So sometimes you work hard for something and you don't really know why. Maybe you're in a job you don't enjoy. Maybe it's you're getting bullied by your boss, or you're having some hard things at one job, and you grit through it because, let's get stuck in and figure it out. And then it's the next job comes along and all of those things that you learned from that last job then become a strength in the next job. And that's why they love you so much. That's why they appreciate you, and that's why you're getting paid more, rah, rah. And it's all that stuff happens all the time. Just trust the process and keep working hard.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. A lot of the time when I'm doing things, I tell myself, I don't know where this is leading, but it's got to be leading somewhere.
And if it feels right in your, if it feels intrinsically right and your sort of your soul or whatever that is aligned with it, then just go for it. I had a moment when I was training for Team New Zealand, before the trial, and I was still in Cambridge and I was doing my big rides every day or every other day or whatever. And I was getting to the end of a sort of 80K ride, and I had heaps of time the rest of the day, and I was like, no, I'm going to push this out to 100 and just like go an extra 20K. And I just did another loop somewhere. And I just had this rush of like, fuck, you're on the right track here. Just keep going. And it was, I think there's so many moments like that people ignore. And just tuning into your own intuition is something that's like incredible. And once you start doing it, it's like there's this gut feel voice that just speaks so loudly. Yeah.
What are 3 words that family, friends, teammates would use to describe you?
Hell yeah, brother. That's hell yeah, brother.
What's that? Did you put a lot of thought into that?
I don't know. I guess no. That was the first 3 words that came to mind for me. But
that would have been so much cooler in a Matthew McConaughey voice. By the way.
Hell yeah, brother. No. All right. There it is. All right. No, I think hard to know what other people's perceptions are, but positivity, enthusiasm, and support, I guess, is how I'd sort of like to be seen, maybe. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's fairly accurate from the research I did.
Yeah.
Are you proud of yourself?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, man. I listened to one with the old podcast with Michaela Blythe, Michael's wife now. And she said it took her a while to sort of get to a point where she could be happy being proud of herself. And I feel the same. Looking back on your performances and the way you've done things and what you've learned out of it. And I think, I've come to a point where I can be proud. And not arrogantly proud, just straight up proud. Just like, yep, I'm really happy with what I've done.
Yeah, so you should be. You've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like you've done a lot of work and you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Were you proud of yourself when you were rowing? Or because of the results, you could never fully be proud of yourself?
I think I came in and out of it.
Yeah.
Because the results were so, left and right or up and down. So, like, I think in my earlier under 23 years, I was really proud of myself. And, like, our performance in 2016 was incredible at the World Champs there. And, but, through that sort of 5 or 6 year period, only towards the end was I proud. I was proud of how hard it was. And how I'd managed to conduct myself during it. I never, ever got shitty about how badly I was doing. I never let it make it anyone else's problem. I just got stuck in and tried to figure it out. And I think that's what I'm most proud of about that journey is like, I never got shitty about it. And I don't know why. I could have, but yeah. Yeah.
Yes, your DNA. Are your siblings like this as well? Are your parents like this?
Or are you? My dad's definitely like this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's shared throughout the family.
Yeah.
I don't know. No.
Well, this has been really enjoyable today. In fact, if we could bottle up what you've got and
it was recorded, so that's a good start.
Spread it around. I think there's like a lot of good lessons and learnings in here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're a good dude.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. You are too, man.
Oh, thanks.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been really, really enjoyable, and I hope to see you in the next America's Cup, or if not, whatever you do next, I'm sure you're going to do as good as what you possibly can.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Could be business, could be whatever. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun.
Cam Webster, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dom. Cheers.